Evolution's explanation for all the varied life forms on Earth is not possible. That's the view of a growing number of scientists who are willing to take the bold step of saying so. 3 of the many powerful reasons to reject evolution are given by scientist and author John F. Ashton, MSc, PhD. Scientists today still cannot produce evidence demonstrating that large-scale evolution is even possible. Now, some readers may already be thinking, hold on, scientists observe evolution taking place. True, we see small evolutionary changes in animals that have adapted to their environment. But you will find those changes always produce the same or a similar type of organism. It may have a slightly different shape or colour. It may possess some relatively minor biochemical differences. It may even be classed as a different species, but it is still the same type of organism. Scientists now understand these changes come about either from 1, mutations altering the DNA of the organism, or 2, parts of the DNA code being switched on or off. DNA is a very large molecule that encodes the processes necessary for an organism to live and reproduce. If parts of that code are changed, this can cause structural changes. These structural changes are almost always harmful. Many evolutionists believe that given a long enough time, such small changes can eventually lead to the evolution of very different organisms with new and different body parts, and we have a new order of animals or plants. But despite the claims of many nature films and science texts, this type of evolution on any large scale has never been seen. It is true that relatively small beneficial single gene mutations, those affecting DNA that encodes a single trait, can sometimes happen. An example of this is seen in microorganisms that by random changes developed the enzyme nyelinase. Nyelinase allows them to digest nylon as a food source. But nyelinase is a relatively simple protein which does not even compare with the amount or extent of massive DNA changes needed for a fish to evolve into an amphibian, or any similar major changes in organisms. It is not merely a matter of having enough time for many small changes to accumulate. Even the smallest steps would require such huge genetic changes that many honest scientists have concluded it is so unlikely as to be essentially impossible. This is their assessment when it comes to the smallest steps. In addition, DNA has built-in repair functions designed to limit major mutations. DNA is actually designed to prevent the evolution of a new type of organism. Consider the amazing diversity of the 2 million species discovered living today and an estimated 100 million to 200 million different types of species living in the past. Each of these has its own unique DNA code. Now we ask ourselves the question, what is the origin of all the complex DNA code which produces the incredibly complex creatures and functioning ecosystems that we see around us? There is absolutely no evidence that random mutations can produce complex advanced information that can result in 1, the high-performance wing systems of insects and birds, 2, the reproductive systems of mammals, and 3, the sonar systems of bats and whales. And we haven't even considered the human mind. Another question is, how old are fossils? Some radiometric dating methods give values of millions to hundreds of millions of years for the rocks surrounding fossils. But when we examine the data, we find that dating rock layers can give very different ages depending on the method used. For example, a particular rock formation in the Grand Canyon has been dated at 516 million years, 892 million years, 1,111 million years, 1,385 million years, and 1,588 million years, depending on the method used. So how old would you say that rock was? Volcanic rocks formed during a volcanic eruption in New Zealand in the 1950s were subjected to modern radiometric dating methods. Although the rocks were known to be only 50 years old, the dating methods gave ages ranging from hundreds of millions to thousands of millions of years. If these methods assign old ages to recent rocks, how can we know with any confidence the age of any rock? Carbon-14 dating, the only method that actually dates the fossils rather than dating the rocks surrounding them, appears to be the most accurate technique. It can give dates only in the thousands of years rather than millions of years. Recent discoveries of soft tissue and DNA fragments in fossils, including dinosaur fossils claimed to be millions of years old, support the carbon-14 ages of only thousands of years for the fossils. Finally, current evidence indicates it is impossible for life to start by itself. Science books sometimes refer to this as abiogenesis, or the chemical evolution of life. The first living cell would require hundreds of different types of very large molecules, including the genetic code compounds, RNA and/or DNA, to form by themselves. These molecules are difficult or impossible to synthesize in the laboratory. They are even harder to form naturally. Most are relatively unstable, readily breaking down into smaller inactive chemicals. We also need millions of copies of some of these chemicals to provide the concentrations needed to make hundreds of biochemical reactions go in just the right way at just the right rate for us to have life. Mathematical modelling indicates this is completely impossible to happen by chance alone. In fact, if we take a live single-cell E. coli bacteria and make a hole in its outer membrane, its chemical reactions are so disrupted that the cell will die. No human can make it come back to life. All the chemical components are still there, but we cannot restart the hundreds of chemical reactions at the same time in just the right state of disequilibrium so that we have life. When we consider the scientific knowledge we have about life on Earth, we can say with certainty that evolution alone as an explanation for the diversity of life on our planet is totally impossible. Instead, science reveals evidence of an awesome, intelligent designer operating at least on some level. Why not consider what the Holy Bible claims? A loving Creator God formed our world, but an enemy called Satan has been seeking to get rid of the evidence of God's creative acts. The Bible does not stop there. Not only did God plan for your existence, the Bible's last book, Revelation, claims He has a plan for a new earth with everlasting happiness for you. If you would like more information about the scientific studies showing that life on Earth did not evolve, read John F. Ashton's book, Evolution Impossible: 12 Reasons Why Evolution Cannot Explain the Origin of Life on Earth.